lecture, and we were discussing about the entropy. Okay, we were discussing about the entropy. So entropy simply means degree of randomness. The more disorder will be there, the more will be its entropy. If any of the component, any of the substance, let's say if any room, in any room, if there is more disorder, then it is said that the entropy is too high of that room, of that particular room, or of that particular place. And also Abhishek Sahu and Anjali Singhal, Vipin Pal, Vipul Singh. Just turn on your video, otherwise I will remove you and stop playing with camera. Okay, and also let's say there is some place in which everything is in complete order. So it is said that the entropy of that particular room is quite low. Entropy of that particular place is quite low. So if I ask you about the solid, liquid, and gas, out of these three, which one will be having the highest entropy? Out of solid, liquid, and gas, which one will be having highest
Gas.
entropy? Exactly, the
Yes.
gaseous particles will be having the highest degree of entropy. Why? Because the gaseous particle there is maximum disorder, while the solid particles are oriented. Solid particles are well managed, or in it, or are in complete order. Okay. Now, if I ask you entropy in terms of adsorption, earlier, let's say this was your adsorbent. Earlier, the gaseous particle, they were moving here and there, they were performing random motion, but after adsorption, they have been adsorbed on this surface. So at this time, the disorder is increased or decreased. After adsorption, disorder,
Decreased.
Decrease.
after adsorption, the disorder is decreased, which means the entropy will decrease.
Decrease.
So you always need to remember these 2 points. That is, after adsorption, or adsorption is always exothermic. Second, after adsorption, the entropy of the system also decreases. Okay. Now let's talk about spontaneity and non-spontaneity. Spontaneous or non-spontaneous. Any chemical process is said to be spontaneous or non-spontaneous based on the value of delta G. Delta G is Gibbs free energy, change in Gibbs free energy. Delta is simply change in Gibbs free energy, and delta G is equals to delta H minus T into delta S. And also one more thing, if entropy of the system has decreases, which means delta S will be positive or negative. Earlier the S1 was having 20, then S2 has been decreased, so it will be 10. So delta S will always be negative. Okay. So here, for the spontaneity and non-spontaneity of a process, spontaneous or non-spontaneous process, delta G is equals to delta H minus T into delta S. I hope you all are familiar with all these terms. Delta H is enthalpy, T is temperature, delta S is entropy. Okay. Any process will be spontaneous if and only if delta H G is equals to negative. Delta G is equals to negative. If Gibbs free energy is negative, then it is said that the process will be spontaneous in nature, while if delta G is equals to 0, then it is said that the process is at equilibrium. The process is at equilibrium. And also, if delta G is equals to positive, which means the process is non-spontaneous. The process is non-spontaneous. Okay. So if we talk about spontaneity or non-spontaneity, spontaneous and non-spontaneous, they simply mean whether the process will take place or not. Spontaneity, which means the process will take place. Non-spontaneity, which means the process will not take place. So if we talk about spontaneity and non-spontaneity in terms of adsorption, since we know in adsorption delta H is equals to negative and delta S is equals to also negative. Okay, if we'll be putting the negative value here, so we will be getting delta G is equals to minus delta H because delta H is negative. And if we put delta S is equals to minus delta S, so it will be minus minus plus. So plus T into delta S. But for any process to be spontaneous, for any process to be spontaneous, delta G must be negative. How can this delta G be negative? This delta G must be negative if and only if delta H is much more greater than the T into delta S. So what will be the condition for adsorption to be spontaneous? The decrease in enthalpy should be much more greater than the multiplication of temperature and entropy. So in that condition, delta G will be negative. As a result, the process will be spontaneous. Is it clear to everyone? Class 12C.
Yes, sir.
Make sure to respond everyone.
Yes.
Okay. Now we'll be moving towards the conclusion of mechanism of adsorption. So here you need to remember these three conclusions only. That is, after adsorption, there is always decrease in residual forces. After adsorption, there is always decrease in residual forces. Enthalpy is negative. Entropy is also negative. Okay, so these are the three main points that we can conclude from the mechanism of adsorption. So I hope so mechanism of adsorption is clear to everyone. Now we will be moving towards the further types of adsorption. We'll be moving towards the types of adsorption. So if you remember in the mechanism part, I have also explained you in the mechanism part, I have explained you that adsorption is because of attraction force. Na? Adsorption is because of attraction force. So let's talk about these attraction forces. If we talk about attraction forces, then attraction forces are of attraction forces that you have studied. These are of like the first one is chemical bonds are also type of attraction force. Chemical bonds are also type of attraction force. Second one is the van der Waals forces. The van der Waals forces, these are also type of attraction forces, which means attraction force can be developed, which means attraction force can be developed with we can develop the attraction force either by forming chemical bonds or by van der Waals forces. Okay, so whenever the attraction force in case of adsorption is developed by the van der Waals forces, then it is termed as the physisorption. Then it is termed as the physisorption whenever the attraction force in case of adsorption is developed by making a true chemical bond. When it is developed by making a true chemical bond, then it is termed as the chemisorption. Then it is termed as the chemisorption. Class 12th, I hope the definition is clear to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope the definition is clear to everyone. So we can have a comparative study of type of adsorption, like physiosorption. These are developed by van der Waals forces, and chemisorption. Chemisorption is developed by chemical bond. It is found by the chemical bonds only. Acha, just let me know. Uh, Out of these two, out of physiosorption and chemisorption, which one will be specific in nature? Out of physiosorption and chemisorption, which one will be specific in nature? Since we know the chemical bond is not, the chemical bond cannot be formed with each and every element. Like chemical bond can be formed under up to a certain conditions only, certain conditions and with some specific elements only, na? So chemisorption, chemisorption is highly specific in nature. Chemisorption is highly specific in nature, while van der Waals forces or attraction forces, these can be developed anywhere, na? So this is not specific in nature. Like the dust particle, adsorption of the dust particle can be adsorbed on the benches, like made up of woods. The adsorption of dust particle can take place on the water bottle as well. It can take place on books as well. So it is not specific in nature, while the formation of chemical bond, that will always be specific in nature, that is highly specific in nature. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, and also Abhishek, Sahu, Arika, Isika, Prabhat, Pratyaksh, Vidhi, Vipul. Stop playing with camera, beta. Just focus on your study. If there is any issue, network issue, you can inform me. But stop playing with camera. Now, now if we talk about reversibility and irreversibility, okay, so physiosorption, it is always reversible in nature. Reversible, which means it can take place in both the direction. Both the direction, which means simply the dust particle. We will take a common example. Okay, the dust particle adsorb on a bench. It can be reverted. Na, we can remove the dust particle, and also if we again leave that place for some time, the dust particle will again adsorb, which means it can proceed in forward as well as in backward direction. It can be adsorbed, it can be desorbed, it can be adsorbed as well as it can be desorbed. Okay, so physiosorption is reversible in nature, while chemisorption, it is irreversible. Once the chemical bonds are formed, once the chemical bonds are formed, it cannot be reverted again. If the bonds are broken, then the compound will not be same as it was. Okay, so that's why chemical bond is termed as the irreversible in nature. Now what next point is common in both of them, like it depends on nature of, it depends on nature of adsorbate. It depends on nature of adsorbate. In most of the cases, the adsorbate will be gaseous particle, and this point will also be same here. It will also depend on the nature of adsorbate, what type of gas is being adsorbed on that solid material. Okay, next is enthalpy of adsorption. Enthalpy of adsorption, enthalpy of adsorption is quite low, and it has value around 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole. It has value, it has value around 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole, while here the enthalpy of adsorption is quite high. Here the enthalpy of adsorption is quite high, and it has value around 80 to 240 kilojoule per mole. Can anyone explain this point, why in case of chemies option, the enthalpy of adsorption will be quite high. Class 12C. Can anyone explain this? Why in this case the enthalpy of adsorption will be quite high?
So because it is of chemical bond, so it require high amount of energy to break the chemical bond.
But beta, here we are talking about the chemical bond formation. Although you have reached almost you have reached, since in case of chemies option, in case of chemies option, there is formation of real chemical bonds. Real chemical bonds. Okay, and also we already know that whenever there is formation of bond take place, there is always release in energy. Whenever there is formation of chemical bond take place, there is always release in energy. Okay, so that's why the enthalpy of adsorption is quite high, because after the bond formation, there will also the energy, some amount of energy will also be released from there. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, next point in case of chemies option we can discuss. Large surface area is required. Large surface area is required. Okay, and also in physics option there will also be requirement of large surface area. What is the role of large surface area in powdered substance? Like earlier when I was explaining the adsorption phenomena, I have also told there that we will be using a powdered charcoal and large surface area. So the role of large surface area is, if you remember, here the adsorption was taking place because these particles will not be having the balance force in all the direction. So if this surface area will be more, then there will be more such particle now which will not be having the same type of attraction force from all the direction. So that's why always the large surface area is required. And in case of powdered substance, the surface area is more. So that's why we always prefer a powdered substance for the high rate of adsorption. Is it also clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the more surface area will be, the more adsorption will be there. Now, chemical bond. Chemical bond is always unimolecular. Chemies option is always unimolecular. Let's say there is a chloride particles on the surface. There is a chloride material and some hydrogen particle have been adsorbed. Some hydrogen particle has been adsorbed, which means there will be chemical bond between them. So if there will be chemical bond between them, so which means the octet of fluorine as well as the octet of hydrogen has been completed. So it will not be interested in making bond with some other element. It will not be forming bond with some other element, which means it will not be interested in forming another layer. It will not be interested in forming another layer. While in case of physiosorption, it is simply held together by the attraction forces. So if a particle is attracted, this particle is attracted toward this one, which means this surface of the particle is already vacant now. So this surface will attract the another particle. So physiosorption is multi-molecular, or we can also say it is multi-layered in nature. While chemies option is unilayered or single layered in nature. So this is all about physics option and chemies option. Is it clear to everyone, beta?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I hope so this is clear to everyone. Now we will be moving further after concluding physics option and chemies option. These are the points that you always need to remember about physiosorption and chemisorption. And also there are some phenomena, which at a low temperature, they show physiosorption, but at a high temperature, they shows chemisorption. At a high temperature, they shows chemisorption. Okay, what will be the example of these type of compound? So whenever the hydrogen gas, is absorbed, absorbed on the surface of nickel. Wherever the hydrogen gas is absorbed on the surface of nickel, so at the low temperature, the hydrogen is attracted towards nickel through van der Waals forces only. But as soon as the temperature increases, this H2 molecule, the bond between the H2 molecule, it breaks and it is converted into hydrogen atom. So these hydrogen atom makes real bond with nickel. So that's why at a higher temperature, it gets converted into chemisorption. Is it also clear that if sometime in examination the example of a material which is asked to you, which behave at low temperature physisorption and at high temperature as a chemisorption, so the answer will be adsorption of hydrogen gas on the nickel. We can also take platinum, we can also take palladium metal. So is it also clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the main conclusion from the apart from the definition of physisorption and chemisorption, that is easily liquefiable gas, low critical temperature, sorry, critical temperature, it should be high, more critical temperature, more rate of adsorption, and strong van der Waals forces. Strong van der Waals forces. For example, if I ask you uh, about NH3 and O2, which gas will be having more rate of adsorption in between NH3 and O2? Which gas will be having more rate of adsorption? So here you can predict on the basis of van der Waals forces or attraction forces. Since NH3, is capable of forming hydrogen bond. In class 11th, you have studied about this point. NH3 is capable of forming hydrogen bond. So the van der Waals forces, the attraction forces will be too strong in case of NH3. So if the van der Waals forces are too strong, which means the adsorption will be quite high. So NH3 will be absorbed up to a more extent. Okay, or in some other cases, some gases will be given to you, O2, N2, H2. Their critical temperature will be given to you. Then the question will be, out of the given gases, which one will be absorbed more? So with this statement, you can easily explain the rate of adsorption. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and also this question, this conclusion is quite important in solving various reasoning problems. Like the question will be, let's say if gas A has more critical temperature than gas B, which one will be adsorbed up to a more extent? So answer will be gas A. Let's say if gas A
A.
has more strong more strong attraction forces, then B, which gas will be adsorbed up to more extent? So again, gas A will be your answer. Okay, so in a particular question, there will be some particular element like gas NS3 is absorbed more than O2 to a charcoal. So explain the reason. So there you will be explaining it is because of strong van der Waals forces. So this was all about from the types of adsorption. This was all about from the types of adsorption. Now we will be moving further for the adsorption isotherm. Now we will be moving further for the adsorption isotherm. So in class 11th, you have studied about isotherms. What are isotherms? Iso means same, therm means temperature. Okay, constant, same or constant temperature. Okay, so and the accumulation of particles on the surface of a the accumulation of particle on the surface of a liquid. Okay, so at constant temperature, the extent of adsorption is represented by x by m. Okay, at constant temperature, the extent of adsorption is measured by the variation of pressure value, is termed as the adsorption isotherm. This was given by the scientist Freundlich. So that's why it is also termed as the Freundlich isotherm. From this equation, we can x by m, it is directly proportional to the pressure, because at constant temperature by varying pressure we can predict the extent of adsorption. Okay, so if we remove proportionality, and also it is p to the power 1 by n, where value of n should be greater than 1. It should be always greater than 1. So x by m is equals to k p to the whole power 1 by n. Okay, here x by m explain the extent of adsorption, extent of adsorption. Okay, and k is constant, p is pressure, you already know, and 1 by n is also constant. And also, to be more specific, for the x and m, we can also say that x is the mass of gas, x is the mass of gas adsorbed, while m is the mass of adsorbent, m is the mass of adsorbent, So I hope so this is also clear to you. This was given by the scientist Freundlich. If the question comes related to adsorption isotherm, so adsorption isotherm is nothing. It is just a graph or just a plot at which is drawn at a constant temperature between the extent of adsorption and pressure. Okay, and it has a formula x by m equals to k p to the whole power 1 by n. I hope this is clear to everyone. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, if we take log of this equation, okay, and also one more thing, when we take 1 by n, value of 1 by n, value of 1 by n is always in between 0 to, value of 1 by n is always in between 0 to 1, whenever 1 by n whenever 1 by n equals to 0, then the adsorption becomes independent of, because x by m is equals to k to the pk p to the whole power 1 by n, the adsorption becomes independent of pressure p to the power 0, which means x by m will be constant now. So that's why when x 1 upon n equals to 0, the adsorption becomes, extent of adsorption becomes independent of pressure. Now when 1 by n equals to 1, then extent of adsorption is directly proportional to the pressure. Extent of adsorption is directly proportional to the pressure. Now if we take log of this equation, like x by m is equals to k p to the whole power n, we will be getting an equation log x by m equals to log k plus 1 upon n log p. Okay, we can compare this equation with the equation of straight line, that is y is equals to mx plus c. Okay, so c is the intercept, so log k will be the intercept. At the y-axis log x by m, so at the y-axis log x by m is plotted, while at the x-axis log p is plotted here. Okay, and 1 by n will be the slope of this equation. So this is all about the Freundlich adsorption isotherm. Is it clear to everyone? Beta,
Yes,
is it
sir.
clear? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so this is for the when a gas is adsorbed on a solid. But what if we calculate it for the solution phase? What if we calculate it for the solution phase? So in case of solution, the pressure term, the pressure is replaced by concentration and all other things will remain as it is. So equation will become log x by m equals to log k plus 1 by n log c. All other things will remain as it is. All other things will remain as it is for the solution phase 2. So class, this was all about today. Class 12C, this was all about today. If you are having any doubt, you can ask your doubt